Okay, we moved over to the pit area where we've got the cars that are taking part in the sprint this afternoon. And we've got a couple of MGFs over here, and we're going to talk to the owners of those. Hi there, Steve. Hi, I'm good. You're leaning on a car that's not yours.
It's not mine, no, but this is the car that inspired mine.
Ah, excellent. And we're going to talk to the owner of that car as well shortly, Rob Bell. So we're going to start with you, though, Steve. So let's move over to yours.
Yeah.
Okay, so Steve Jackman, this is your car.
It is.
Looking resplendent in its red colour. Tell us a bit about your car.
Well, I've had it for 4 years. It started off as a bulk standard car, and then it's had 7 evolutions now. So it's basically an MGTF underneath and an MGF on top. So it's got coilover suspension. Nothing's been done to the engine at all, so it's exactly as it was. So yeah, it's been extensively modified. So it's roughly 920 kilos with the roll cage. Like I said, it's got an MGTF subframe underneath. It's had nothing done to the engine, but it's got cold air induction. It's got TT Performance race exhaust on it, which is the straight through one. And it's had the ECU remapped by Source. But everything else has been done myself. The whole car's been rebuilt by me. Obviously, it's got race seats in it. There's no carpets in it. It's got a race steering wheel. But more importantly, it's got no ABS now. It's got no servo in there at all. So there's no powered brakes, no power steering. It's got electronic switchgear. Also electronic gauges as well, because they're way more accurate than using the analogue ones. The interesting part is underneath the bonnet, believe it or not.
Okay, now we don't have an engine under here, so let's have a look and see what we've got under here.
For those that are an MGF owners will expect to see a lot more than that. So so the wheel arches and the tyre wells all been cut out. As you see, there's a huge amount of weight removed because the servo's gone, the ABS has gone, the shelves that held that, all the cowlings have been removed as well. I've flat bottomed the bottom with aluminium to get a bit of aero. Believe it or not, the wheel arches are actually made of plastic. It's a pub Corex sign. I run a pub, so where I can use stuff and save money, I have.
Right.
All the brake lines have been replaced. But pretty much the car, when it got rebuilt, everything was new when it was put on. So it's new suspension. Even the subframes sent off and powder coated, so they're like new. Wiper motor, the clutch master cylinder, slave cylinder, brake cylinders have all been new. This is, I think, the only MGF that has 4-pot calipers and 15-inch wheels. Normally you can't get them on, but I've managed to get them on by spacing them out as well.
Right.
So the bonnet's fiberglass, the boot's fiberglass. It's super light. It's 161 horsepower. I haven't done anything to the engine. However, next year I'm putting a 160 engine in with a port and polished head, and I'm hoping to get 180 horsepower at 900 kilos.
And you campaigned this last year?
I did, yeah.
Quite successfully, I believe. I
won the MGF register. I won Class 3. I think I was 3rd in the Southern Championship, and I think I was 4th or 5th in the Nationals. And that was my first time with the MG Car Club, and only my 3rd year of competing. So this is now my 4th year. I'm currently leading the Southern Championship, and I think Kevin Lahart is winning the MGF Championship with Rob behind the two of us. So yeah, we're doing quite well this year. The car's brilliant. It's taken me 4 events to get used to the brakes, because obviously there's no power brakes. Yeah. So you keep thinking they're not working. It's not they're not working, you're just not pressing hard enough. So now it's on the button, handles beautifully, steers beautifully. The driver's just got to get used to it now. That's the thing with this one. Yeah.
Plans for the future?
The engine change, so get that more horsepower out of it. Apart from that, everything else I'm really happy with. So suspension steering is brilliant. So it is just get that engine out, put another one in with a little bit more power to it, and another remap for the ECU. It's sort of mapped for road, and I really need it mapped for racing. Yeah, so I need to run rubbish when it's on tick over and beautiful flat out, whereas at the moment it does both of them quite happily.
Great.
So yeah.
And have you been out today on the track?
Yeah, I've done 2. I'm beating Rob by a good 3 seconds at the moment, so that's good. But I think he's just being over cautious at the moment. Yeah. Plus he has to drive his home, whereas mine gets trailered, so I don't have to be as cautious as him. So
no, that's true.
So yeah, but as long as we don't keep getting the rain, we should have a good afternoon.
Right. Get a bit slippy out there if you do get the rain today.
Yeah, I think I'm 11th at the moment out of everybody. So
cool.
winning our class and 11th overall at the moment. So
Brilliant.
see if we can get that up a bit.
Thanks, Steve, for showing us around your
thanks for the interview.
Sprint car, I guess, is it?
It was built for hill climb.
Hill climb and sprint car.
But yeah, it does sprints. But primarily the brakes are set for hill climb rather than sprints.
Fabulous. Thanks very much, then, Steve.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, now Steve mentioned Rob, who does own this car next to us here, which is the nickname of Project Shed. And this is a long-term project that Rob has been doing on this car, called Project Shed because it's shedding weight, not because it looks a bit rubbish. The work underneath is excellent. So we're going to talk to Rob, who's hanging around at the back of the car. It's got a bit noisy down here at the moment, Rob, as everyone seems to be starting up. Hi, how are you doing?
Very, very well, thank you.
Excellent. Nice to see you at Brooklands.
Yeah, it's lovely to be. You know, it's been many, many years since I was last at Brooklands.
Yeah.
The last time I was at Brooklands was on the 4th MGF birthday party.
Oh, gosh, that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Can't even remember the date.
That'll be
99.
Yeah, it must have been about 99.
Yeah,
that would have been 99. And we had the test. We did the test hill.
That's
driving
right.
up all
Yeah. And you had your picture taken on the banking.
We did indeed. Yes.
I remember
Very,
that one.
very
Still
famous
got
picture.
that picture. Yeah. Well, you're here today with Project Shed. Interesting name. Tell us about Project Shed.
Well, where do you want me to start, Tim? With the name, perhaps.
We have published a 44-part article on it, but you could tell the story.
And I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon, is it? Project, the name, we'll start with the name. So Project Shed was actually the name given to it by my erstwhile partner in crime, Tim Walcott. He called it a shed because it looked like a complete dishevelled shed when we picked it up. So
that took on a different meaning, then.
And it has taken on a bit of a different meaning because it also meant to shed weight, which is how my wife interpreted the name. So actually, they're both right. It is still a bit of a shed, and it is shedding a lot of weight. So the story starts, I think it started back in 2010, when on the MGF Register forum, somebody posted up, I've got an MGF rolling body shell. It's going to the scrapyard unless somebody picks it up, and you can have it for free. And I thought, well, I'll take on that. I'll never pass up a freebie.
Yeah.
And the car, when I picked it up, so it looked somewhat like what it does. It actually looks better now than when I picked it up. The car was being stripped by the guy who was giving it away because he wanted the engine and the transmission because he was going to shoehorn that into an old Rover Mini. And so essentially there was nothing left on the car because they didn't spend any time taking anything apart. They cut things, destroyed things. There was no engine, no transmission, there was no steering column. About the only thing that was still on the car was the brake lines and the brakes. So fortunately it had brakes. But the subframe wasn't even bolted on at the rear, so we were trying to get it on the trailer with four wheels all pointing in different directions. So that was very exciting. But to cut a longer story short, essentially the car has been built up over many weekends, over many years, with a donor car that provided a replacement engine and transmission and the whole electrical. So basically that car had been in a major frontal impact, was never going to go back on the road, so I just harvested everything and put it into this.
Put it all into this. So it's a combination of two MGFs, really.
It is. It is a complete bidser, and there's a nice little there's a nice little sticker on the side there which says eBay built.
All right.
And that I think really sums up
That's just down on the front here, yeah.
Yeah. And the other sticker, which I think is always fun, which always gets comment, is the sticker on the opposite side in the exact same position, which says "I survived the scrappage scheme."
Ah, okay.
And the irony is that this car has actually been rescued by parts of a car that was being taken into the scrappage scheme. So the car has been a project of lightweighting.
Yeah, absolutely. So you, over the many years now, you shed an enormous amount of weight off this vehicle.
And do you know what?
It into quite a rapid sprint hill climb car.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what its function is. And also I do a few track days when I can. So it's a project in lightweighting, and I can show you one of the details which I'm quite fond of, which is the bonnet hinge on this.
All right, okay.
So it's no longer
let's
the bonnet
have a look
hinge.
at your bonnet
So
hinge.
Just as an example, because there's too many examples. But I'll show you this.
Okay,
This
we're just
was a
unlocking the bonnet.
This was a particular project from COVID because I wasn't able to do very much else, mainly because I was still on the wards. But if you have a look at the bonnet hinges, you'll notice they're no longer standard, and I've even drilled holes.
And you've drilled holes to shed a bit more weight.
Oh,
in them.
absolutely, yeah. And funny enough,
can't
that
go wrong,
saves quite a few grams. But you kind of get a feel for
Yeah.
the detail that has gone into it in terms
absolutely.
of trying to get weight out
of
of it.
most things are stripped out, aren't they?
Yes.
And you put some extra weight in, though.
That is a little bit of extra weight. So not only has it been a project of lightweighting, but it's also been a project of playing with things such as aerodynamics. Adrian Newey probably isn't going to be knocking at my door to give me a job anytime soon, but it's been a bit of fun. So one of the things that you can immediately see is this funny little box thing here, but essentially that is the air which goes through the radiator, is ducted straight up and up through that hole in the bonnet.
Right. So this is an air output
Absolutely.
on the bonnet rather than input.
And you might reasonably ask, why the hell have I done that? And essentially that is a copy of what was done on one of the project cars which MG Rover and Myra produced, the 200 HPD. And they did an awful lot of aerodynamic and rolling road work to look at lift and look at aerodynamic efficiency. And they ducted their radiator in exactly the same fashion. And essentially they found less front-end lift, reduced aerodynamic drag. And I thought, well, that's got to be worthwhile. So I repeated it, and I even went to the extent of trying to measure the pressure differences with bits of clear hose from a goldfish pond. So but you can run a little manometer to actually measure pressures. So it actually works.
Yeah.
It actually works.
I'm sure it does. Particularly if the MG Rover engineers worked it out in the first place.
Well, exactly. And I thought, well, if they know what they're doing, we'll do that.
Let's have a wander around, and we can look at your interior and see what you stripped out of here, basically.
Well, most of it.
Let's have a look. Let's open the door. Just going to go here. Okay, so yeah, pretty stripped out, apart from the big chunky bits of metal they've put in.
Yes, I added weight there, but it's safety, because that's a full safety devices roll cage. And it's also something that stitches the front of the car to the rear, so it actually increases the torsional stiffness of the body shell. Yeah. So I think from that I felt that it's worth the weight gain. But what you also see are the seats, and these are actually genuine MGF Cup race seats.
All right, okay.
And you can tell they are because they've even got the MG badge embroidered
on the back.
Back there. The original Cup cars only had one seat, but I have to run two, so I've got a pair of them. So they're probably worth a few pennies to the right person.
That begs the question: do you need another seat?
Well, in this class you do. So the class you do need a seat.
Regulations.
Correct. Yeah. And the standard seats are way too heavy to keep in, so much better to go with a bucket seat.
Lightweight seat.
I have seen people go with go-kart seats in that passenger seat. That's pushing the rules a bit, but it is a seat. But you can certainly do that.
Everything you do has got to be within regulations.
100%. Yeah. So everything you see here is within rules, and I haven't had to reinterpret them too cunningly to do it.
Fantastic. Is there much to see in the back? Or probably not a lot.
Huge amount. It's your usual MGF view of engine bay.
Right, absolutely, yeah. So minuscule.
But what you will see is, obviously, this is not a standard boot lid, and again a bit of lightweighting, and that actually does not weigh very much.
No,
it's a single skin of GRP. But so yes, it looks pretty standard under there, bar the ITG airbox.
Right.
Because essentially it is pretty standard, the engine. The engine, the only major modification to the engine itself is the fact that it's using TF135 cams.
Right. So basically stripped out in the back here, there's nothing, no carpeting or anything in the back. Standard MG TF engine.
I guess.
From your cams.
Well, it's a standard MGF MPI, yes, but apart from the cams, which are standard MG TF cams, so they're 135. apart from the ITG filter that you can see, it's got a 4:2:1 exhaust manifold, a sports cat going into a Trevor Taylor sports exhaust with a single exit. So it's saved a bit more weight because it's only got one tailpipe.
Lovely. And you've had some success in this?
Yeah, so this car won the championship in 2019. So we did okay that year. I've been off because of COVID duties, because, work's kept me a little bit busy. So back first time in a couple of years this year.
Yeah, it's great to see it campaigning again.
Yeah, and I'm really happy to be campaigning again, to be honest.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Rob Bell.